This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
W-I-N-D. 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 First on your dial. First on your dial. W-I-N-D. Chicago.
That's what he...
Shut up!
Yes, Eddie Schwartz here. We're going to be interviewing Rosemary and Bill Cosby.
But remember when
For 3
WIND used to be music? And who was the morning show back then?
Well, Howard Miller dominated for like 20 years before Wally finally ran him down.
First there was Marconi, and then there was Howard Miller.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Bernard Shaw from CNN, that Bernard Shaw was the news director?
Yeah, for under Westinghouse. When Westinghouse bought WIND back in the late 50s, they really expanded their news. And in fact, one of the top news people who is still in the news business in this town is Fran Spielman, who is the City Hall editor of the Chicago Sun-Times.
Wow, the history of WIND.
History
Now we're
of radio.
Chicago's Morning Answer.
History of radio.
Just to go back, you do know that I got my start in radio. As Jack Benny's sound man, I made the sound of his trousers chafing against each
old are
other
you?
when he would stride onto the stage.
Bruce
Oh,
Wolf.
Rochester.
Rochester.
Yeah, okay.
The home of Lawrence Welk, too, by the way, just so you know.
I had to
home of-
listen to Lawrence Welk with my grandparents
Yeah.
in Niles.
Ron-
After she played the organ, we went
Yeah,
and walked down the
organ.
plastic strip on the carpet, you know? And
Sure.
that's how
The
it was
hallway
back
runner.
then.
Yeah.
Wonderful,
Hallway
wonderful.
runner.
Yeah. So here's the Amy Jacobson now to dance to Beer Barrel Polka right now. Wonderful,
That's
wonderful.
good.
And in-
Da-da-da-da.
This place was famous for
What?
after the 2 a.m. news playing what song?
I don't know.
After the 2 a.m.
Legendary. I mean, there are 100 versions of this song
On top
in the
of a pizza.
WIND. No,
Oh, okay.
in the WIND music library.
What?
Really?
The Whiff-Improof song.
Oh.
Hey, Justin, will you get up the whiff-improof song for us?
Just saying.
All right.
Radio history in this
All
town.
right, we're going to rein this in.
Can we just come to the
thank you.
future? It's gonna. Let's go to 2018.
Yeah,
right
let's
now.
get back
Yeah.
into the
Thank
present.
you,
We
Mike.
have a big mayoral race coming up. We do. Let's focus on the prize. 21 people vying to be your next mayor.
21.
21 candidates.
Our America First Daily. Benjamin Adamowski.
You know what? Here's the bottom line. I do not respect any candidate that jumped in after Mayor Emanuel announced that he wasn't going to run for re-election.
It's a
And
subject
that's
of a
Bill
John
Daley. That's a lot of people. Preckwinkle, Susana Mendoza. Here's an original. I call them one of the original. Lori Lightfoot. She joins us now on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Good morning, Lori. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, Lori, I loved it. You took people to task because challenging of all these petitions, which Tony Preckwinkle is doing, will cost the Board of Elections about $1 million to taxpayers.
They're going to be working on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, Tony Preckwinkle. We should just give her a bag of coal.
I loved it. And you also scoffed at Susana Mendoza for seeming to stand up for the other women and calling on Preckwinkle to drop all her petition challenges.
Thanks, Susanna, but the rest of us can actually stand on our own 2 feet. And frankly, her comment is insulting and stupid.
So I love it. I mean, we're getting down and dirty here in the last few weeks before the campaign. Did you see Tony Preckwinkle dropping her petition challenge against you and the other ladies anytime soon?
Well, she dropped her challenge against Mendoza yesterday because Mendoza cleared the magic 12,500 hurdle. Their process was a couple days ahead of ours, so I expect that we'll be there in the next couple days. But yeah, I mean, it's completely, utterly frivolous, and it's an unbelievable waste of taxpayer dollars. Not to mention the fact that these Board of Elections workers have literally been working 7 days a week, along with people, representatives from the various campaigns. It is not how democracy should function. What Tony Preckwinkle is doing is using a relic of the machine to her advantage to try to squelch competition. And what I keep asking her, what's she afraid of? Why won't she compete on the issues and on the merits?
Well, what do you have to say, too, to all those candidates? And I mean, there is a large field now of people to choose from that jumped in after Mayor Emanuel announced that he was not running for mayor. It just seems so cowardice of them, and I don't think that they should have been allowed to even be on the ballot. I don't.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Amy. They either thought that things were just fine all over Chicago, which no voter did. Huge numbers, way in excess of 60%, thought that the city was going in the wrong direction. But the truth is that they lacked the courage to take on Manuel. They saw political opportunity after the rest of us slayed Goliath, and then they're trying to jump in and say, oh, no, vote for me as your next leader. Well, if they didn't stand for you before Ron was off the ballot, they're not going to stand for you now. This is pure political grab. All these people represent different factions of the broken Democratic Party machine. And frankly, as you said, they are not worthy of anybody's votes.
I believe that Bill Daley has raised a lot of money.
Oh, I think
so that's
$3
good.
million plus. He already has campaign ads on
And
TV.
he was, I believe, in the Situation Room when Osama bin Laden was taken out.
So what?
So what do you have to say to that, candidate Lightfoot?
Well, look, Bill Daley obviously has held a lot of different government positions. But I think the question that people have to ask themselves is, when the violence was raging out of control in 15 and 16, when taxes were crushing people and forcing people to leave the city, when municipal finance was spiraling out of control because guess what? Somebody kicked the can down the road repeatedly. Where was Bill Daley? The only time he's spoken up in public in the last couple of years is to defend his brother's legacy. But on issues that are important to everyday Chicagoans, he's been utterly silent.
And
So,
he
I
didn't
think
release his
people ought to take that
tax
into
returns.
account.
He didn't release his tax
Yeah,
returns either. Only 10 of
it's-
16 did.
Yeah, I released my tax returns with
Good for you.
not just the front page as some did, but with full schedules. I mean, look, the truth is there are people who have jumped into this race at the last minute who, and Bill Daley's clearly a recipient of a lot of raw money, but he's avoided putting himself in front of the voters. I had to laugh at the Sun-Times article saying, oh, we should organize this. Well, Bill, we've had about 10 different candidate forums since you jumped in the race, but you couldn't be bothered to present yourself to people who cared about affordable housing or disability rights, or people on the north side, people on the west side. These candidate forums are happening, and some of us are actually presenting ourselves in our credentials and making the case to voters. He's, off to D.C. and Boston and other places raising money, but he doesn't want to present himself to everyday Chicagoans and, frankly, face the music.
I'm not good at math. That's why I went into journalism. But in the 13th Ward, there were more revocation signatures than there were signatures for the petition for young Mr. Krupa.
And now, thankfully, the FBI is getting involved because they called him yesterday.
Yeah. And candidate Mendoza, I haven't heard her comment on it. What's your
Well, she said she doesn't even know about it, which was a joke. She's got to know about it now.
She's got people out there. What is your view of that?
Well, I mean, it's similar to what we were talking about with Tony Preckwinkle. This is the machine flexing its muscles and, frankly, perpetrating a fraud on the Board of Elections because they think they can get away with it. Not only should the FBI look at this, but frankly, the Attorney Registration and Disciplinary, which is our kind of attorney watchdog, should take a look at this issue and figure out why it is a lawyer put forward more affidavits in opposition to this young kid than he actually filed in signatures.
No.
This is
they
just a gross abuse of the system.
And they didn't think they were going to get caught because they think they're above the law, which has got to stop. Former president of the Chicago Police Board, why do you want to be mayor of the city of Chicago?
Because I'm going to be an independent, unbossed and unbought leader who's going to put people first, who's going to take on, I think I have a track record of taking on very tough issues and bringing people together to solve them and bring forth solutions that are best for Chicagoans. I'm not in this because of my ego. I'm not in this to advance somebody else's causes. I just saw that there were huge disparities in our city that were not being addressed. And we've got to have a city that's safe. We've got to have a city where everybody in every neighborhood has a real opportunity to participate in the economy and forge the kind of life in this city that makes them want to stay here. The fact that we're losing so much population from all over the city should be the proverbial canary in the mine shaft. But we can't be a great global city going forward if our neighborhoods are decimated.
Well, I live in the city, and I have for 20-plus years. How can we make, and it sounds cliche, but this safe streets, or how can we cut down on the homicide rate and the number of carjackings? Oh, my God, we had a carjacking at 5 o'clock the other day. I walked right by it. I didn't even, It's weird how numb you get to the violence on the streets.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we've got to deal with this as the public health crisis that it is. Meaning, we've got to look at the root causes of the violence. We have neighborhoods that literally, the largest employer is the illegal drug trade. That's a problem. So what you're seeing is the manifestations of a lack of investment. So we've got to deal with that. And frankly, our law enforcement has to step up. We have to have a proactive, not reactive, but a proactive plan for stopping the guns from coming into Chicago before they hit our streets. Right now, we react. We wait till they get here, and then we try to deal with it. That's not the way to actually make any real progress on violence in the city.
Let me.
I
just had a question. Rahm Emanuel, I've anointed him as the de facto head of the Republican Party in the state of Illinois because there's nobody left in the Republican Party. Well, he came out in favor, after he's out of the mayoral race, he came out in favor of a constitutional amendment on pensions. What's your solution to the costs that are weighing us down?
Look, we made a promise to pensioners, right? You know this as well as I do. People spend their whole working careers working to the point where they feel like they've got enough of a pension. They plan their retirement life around what that magic date and number is. And I just don't believe, having come from a small steel town where people lost their pensions when the steel industry tanked, I think once we make that promise, we have to keep it. Now, that makes the situation much, much more complicated, but I don't think a constitutional amendment getting rid of pension benefits is the way to go. I just think that's wrong.
All right. Thank you so much, Lori Lightfoot. Where can we learn more information about you? What's your website?
You can go to our website at lightfoot4chicago.com. We've got a lot of great information there, and particularly check out our public safety plan and our plan for affordable housing in the city.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure speaking with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Appreciate it.
And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the